It doesn't take much effort to go on social media and find people complaining about some non-issue, but in this video we're going to focus on the complete head cases that just can't seem to separate fantasy from reality when it comes to female characters. The two examples in this video really demonstrate how dishonest these people are in the way they operate. They're complaining about female character designs in One Piece, specifically the females that have slim waists and large chests. Now, I don't watch One Piece, but even I know this is a show with exaggerated artwork, featuring a variety of characters of different shapes and sizes that do not resemble anything close to what you would consider realistic. And hey, it's not supposed to, because it's a fictional world and it's only confined to the rules established by the author of that world. So right off the bat, they're incorrect in making it appear as though women are depicted in one way or that the male characters aren't exaggerated as well. They take these examples and completely remove them from the context in order to make a point that just doesn't exist. I don't think it matters even if all the female characters were drawn this way, but this is just to note that the argument they're attempting to make doesn't come from an honest point of view, and if they're so correct, there'd be no need to frame it in this manner. Their hypocrisy really knows no bounds, because often the type of people who make this sort of argument, screeching about sexualized female characters, have social media profiles littered with boys love art or fictional pairings of real-life people, so they have absolutely no ground to stand on when it comes to criticizing people for their interests or the way they draw women. You'll also note that they're trying to make the point that this is all the product of straight men. Well, first of all, straight men are interested in women, so it absolutely makes sense that they'd enjoy visually appealing artwork of female characters. But often, the response this triggers is to point out that it's not only straight men that draw this way, that women like these characters too, that lesbians exist. You get the idea. Now, here and there, I have pointed out that straight men aren't the only ones who design female characters this way, but it was in instances where they assumed an artist was male when they were actually female, and it's not fair to the artist to be used as propaganda for their narrative. On a surface level, pointing out that not only straight men draw like this seems like a decent enough counterpoint, but after reflecting on it a bit, I feel as though this is just one more way for them to get you to accept their premise, that identity is somehow the end-all be-all of who decides what is acceptable, because before you know it, you're arguing from their social justice standpoint of whether or not they're invalidating certain identities by making said statements. They're not honest actors, because even if you pointed out 100 examples of women drawing similar art, they just write it off by claiming she suffers from some imaginary internalized ailment. Usually this is more about trying to farm likes and retweets for calling out something they've labeled problematic, which, as everyone knows by now, is just a term for something they don't like. But I reject their premise entirely. Even if it was 100% straight men making this art, that doesn't make it inherently wrong. The identity of the artist doesn't determine whether the art is good or bad. There's no need to argue identity with these people, because anyone regardless of their identity is free to draw whatever they want, and they don't need to justify it by how many other types of people are drawing similar works. Now, I don't know if we can give them the credit of being intelligent enough to plot something like that, but regardless, it is a byproduct of arguing with them on the basis of identity. Any ordinary person knows you don't have to be a certain thing to draw a specific type of fictional character. It's fine to remind them once in a while if they misrepresent an artist as someone they're not, but it need not be the basis of your argument. Their view of the world doesn't deserve to be lent the slightest bit of credence, because it's all part of accepting the idea that you are limited by your identity, or that in order for a concept to be valid, it must be shared by multiple types of people. These people should be reminded that it doesn't matter what your identity is. If you want to design a character with attractive features, you can damn well do as you please, and they can continue to bitch into oblivion. Allowing these people to police your imagination is a horrible mistake, and one that should not be tolerated. These people don't create, they only destroy. Even when they try to create something, it's always a warped version of an already established character, made to be a hideous identity-swapped mess that aligns with whatever delusion they try to inflict upon reality, because they no longer have the capability to separate the two and believe that fictional works should always represent the way they perceive the real world. You don't need to be protected from fantasy. You can decide for yourself what you want to engage with based on your own judgment, so if you don't like someone's character designs, you can voice your opinion all you want, but it doesn't mean they have to stop just because you think it's unrealistic or makes you uncomfortable in some way. If something fictional is bothering you to the point that you can't function until it's purged, the problem is within you. The great thing about fiction is that no matter who or what you are, you can pick up a pencil and draw or write whatever character or story pops in your imagination. You aren't limited to the confines of the real world. Do some people use this for weird purposes? Sure. After all, degenerate furry art and disturbing fanfics where people pair up actual celebrities or siblings exist. But even if they're awful, you can't control the fiction that other people create. It only opens the floodgates for policing the only refuge people have from the sometimes harsh realities of the world, their imaginations.